Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
You's a clown, that's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh? Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you said on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
Got it?
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Please make sure you come in, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you have not figured it out, this live is about Bishop Lamor Whitehead. I am coming to you live from New York. And Whitehead had a bad day today. He definitely had a bad day. And we're going to talk about it because you guys know that nothing just happens. You know, I go in court and come out. It's always some beginning story, but that I have to talk about before we even get to the courtroom. But thank you guys so much for joining me. For those of you that are not aware, I did break the news earlier that Bishop Lamor Whitehead was remanded. I don't know if we should still call him a bishop anymore. I don't know how that works. But Lamor Whitehead, he has been remanded. So he is currently in detention. And the reason why that I came was because it was so funny because I was talking to Dev and I said, I was like, I should go see. It's on Monday. I want to go see what happens because I got a sneaky suspicion that he's gonna go to jail, right? That he's gonna be detained. So Dev kind of ignored it for a minute.
First time.
Yeah, the first time he just ignored me. So then when I said it the second time, he was like, man, this lady know I work all day.
Right.
And now after I've worked all day, she's like, I want to go to New York. But he was a trooper. And he took your intellect over here to New York. And it was worth the trip. Wasn't it worth the trip?
It was.
It was worth the
to see
trip.
the smile on my wife's face.
It was worth the trip.
Yeah.
So let's start. Let's just start from the beginning. So I pull up over there in New York at the Southern District of New York Federal Court. And I get out the car as I always do. And I said, Self, I think Lamor Whitehead is going to come in right behind you. This has never happened. All the time that I have come to this court for his trial, I've never seen him prior to actually going into the courtroom. Usually he's already seated in there. I said, Self, I think you're going to see him today. So I keep going, go through security. And I turn around. You know how you just feel somebody like blazing at you, right? Just like staring at you and you feel it. So I turn around and he looks at me and he was like, he's like, usually he doesn't like stay trying to look at me eye to eye. But today he looked at me like, you are probably the most hated person. If I had to put you on a top 5, you are definitely in the top 5. I said, I have never felt such a strong look in my life. He was like, then he looked at me again. I said, shoot, let me get my stuff up out of this thing, because I move a little faster because I'm a lawyer. So they gave me my little stuff. I said, let me get out of here. I said, this might be the day that he go for broke. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get prepared. I'm like, let me call a couple of, what the heck is this? So the way the court is, when you come in through security, you go to the right in order to go to the elevators. So I went to the left. I was like, I'm about to sit over here for a minute or whatever before I go up. Knew it was going to take him a little while to get up, get finished. So he comes through, and then once he actually goes to the right to get on the elevator, I take my happy self up from the other side because he couldn't see me. And I was sitting on the bench, and I just moseyed on over there to the elevator where him and his lawyer was. And he looked at me again up and down, and I just stood next to him. I was like, I mean, you could at least say good morning. I came all the way here. My goodness. So, of course, the male lawyer, if you watch my first video, I showed who his lawyers were when they came outside. He was like whispering in his ear and stuff, letting them know, yeah, that's one of them heifers that's online talking about me. So I just stood there. So then the elevator kept coming, you pressing the elevator. It kept coming down. It's full of people. You can tell he like, I cannot believe I got to stand next to this lady. All of this. We were probably sitting at the elevator waiting on the elevator for like 15 minutes. Like, no joke. The elevator kept coming down. It was just full of people. So we had to just sit there. So I'm just like, so then finally the elevator come. So it was one other guy that was waiting as well. So, and yeah, it was one other guy that was waiting to go on a different floor. And I think it was somebody else. So it was Whitehead, me, some other guy that was on. It was like two other people. So all four of us got on the elevator, So we was just sitting there. They were like, the other two was telling me, what buttons to push. Like, what button I'm going. What floor I'm going to. So you already pushed my floor, Whitehead. So you don't even have to worry about me. So I stood next to him on the elevator. I know he was just like, he didn't know what to do. Like, I think he just did not know what to do. Like, what is this? I just never seen nothing like this. Because he's so used to people being intimidated by him that I think he just did not know how to react or whatever. So he didn't say anything. But baby, if looks could kill, I wouldn't be before you right now. You guys would be like, we love the intellect. Because that's how he was looking at me. So I sat, waited. So finally we get to our floor. Of course, the other two people were before. They got off the elevator before we got off the elevator. So we had to be on there the whole, ride. They were like on floor 5 and floor 7, and we were going up to 11. So we spent a lot of space together. So we get up there to the 11th floor. He was like, how you doing double dutch and you stand up. I'm always acting. You stand up and you're like trying to get in. That's how he was trying to get up off that elevator. So I said, I guess he's not going to let me go first. Okay. So then the elevator opens up and he just darts off the elevator. And he goes straight to the men's bathroom. Like once we got to the floor. So I just went over there, and sat on the bench in front of the door to get into the courtroom. The attorney for him went and tried to open the door and it was still locked. So I said, oh, now we got to sit out here together. He really about to be mad. So he come out the bathroom and he looking like, and the door ain't open. So him and his attorney sit on the bench. So, I sit on the bench too. I mean, I'm waiting for the door to open. So we sit on the bench, and then he's like leaning over, trying to talk to his lawyer in a way that I couldn't hear. But I'm on my phone. I'm in you guys know the members. I'm texting you guys, telling you what's going on, While I'm sitting there, I'm DMing me. I'm all up in the membership section, all of that. So eventually, I guess he just couldn't take it no more. Like, I'm not about to sit next to her. So him and his attorney got up. Then I turned around and two marshals jumped up off of that elevator and they tried to open up the door. I said, "Ooh, he going to jail." Like, I knew it off rip. The two marshals came off that elevator, tried to get in the courtroom, and it was locked. They had their handcuffs, hanging off the side. I said, "Oh man." So of course he got nervous. His face was like, he literally, and how I know that he was concerned and he knew, because he was trying to whisper to his attorney, but his attorney's response was loud enough that I could know what he generally was trying to ask his attorney. So the attorney was like, "No, they don't know what the judge's decision is yet. They don't know the decision." So he's like, "Oh." Because I'm telling you, when I first saw the marshals, I was like, "Oh, this is not looking too good." So he gets up and he's back talking to his attorney. So they finally, the marshals, because they couldn't get in through the door that we all go through, they went through their little back way. So they were already in the courtroom. So then the court's clerk opened up the door. The prosecutors came up. They went into the courtroom. Then Whitehead and his attorney went into the courtroom. So then I ended up coming in the courtroom to sit down. And there wasn't nobody in there at first. It literally was nobody except those two marshals. They stood in the back with their little handcuffs hanging down off their pants. They stood in the back. So then they say, "All rise." Judge comes out. She sits down and she says, "We're here reconvening from last week." Because for those of you that don't know, last week there was a status conference of which the issues on whether he should be remanded and bail should be revoked was an issue then. But the judge was very clear that there was one issue that she wanted briefed more thoroughly on both sides. And that was regarding a statute that we'll talk about later that requires, after he was convicted of what he was convicted of, one of the counts, that he should be remanded. Like it's a mandatory being remanded. So that's why it didn't go through last week, because the judge wanted briefing. So she comes in and she sits down and she says, "I already have my opinion." I was like, "Oh my goodness, let me get my pen then, Your Honor. Let me grab my notes. What is your opinion?" So then she sits down and she goes in and she's like, it was supposed to start at 10:30. We started at like 10:42. She's like, "I'm here to discuss the government's motion of remand pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 31-4. She goes through all it. She has a whole written opinion, which is not uncommon. Usually when you go, even for oral arguments, it's just you have the right to oral argument, and sometimes you may be able to persuade, but for the most part, the judge knows. That's why they want you to do all of this briefing. So she knew this was going to be a quick in and out. So she sits down and she starts reading, and you could see the sweat off his brow. Like, I was like, "Ooh, he looking nervous." So the judge goes in, and what is interesting though is, so I'm gonna refresh some of your recollection on, because a lot of stuff is being reported wrong. I even saw it first of all, there were no reporters there. So if you go online and you just see that remand happened, I think people are assuming why the remand happened. But it wasn't for what people thought it was. We went over the government's letter, of which let me see, is this it? The government went over, it was a May 8th letter, and we went over it here. And the first thing that they said was the Andersons, she spoke to the Andersons. Let me go back a little bit. So how all of this started, for those of you that don't know, is that there was a letter by somebody named Helen Smith or something. And she basically was saying that Lamor Whitehead was out here on YouTube running amok. That he was threatening the Andersons and all of that. What was interesting about that is this person had no affiliation with the case. So when I read that, I wasn't unless the Andersons come forward, her saying that is not going to mean much, but it did perk the attention of the judge and also the prosecutor. So the prosecutor responded and was basically like, "Yeah, the Andersons, I feel like they went into more detail about these confidential. There was a protective order not a restraining order. I've seen people say restraining order, but there was a protective order where there's certain documents that should not have been released from the government. So on top of the threats, the alleged threats from this Helen person from wherever, there were the issues of Whitehead waiving those documents, and we went over that, and they were documents that were supposed to be under seal. So of course the judge wanted responses to it. So this was one of the letters that the government responded to, and it said, first, the government has spoken with the Andersons about the allegations contained in the email. The Andersons are understandably uneasy about the defendant's public remarks, including remarks disparaging them, but the government understands the defendant has not made any direct or indirect threats against them. So basically, the government's like, we're not going to pay this email any attention because they're saying that they have not gotten any threats. But then the government goes on to say, even though they may not perceive to have threats, we still believe that his behavior was threatening. So it was like he's taking steps to create risk for them. So they go on, and that's what this paragraph is about. So then they give another reason. They say, second, regardless of the defendant's conduct related to the Andersons, the disclosure of the documents subject to the protective order constitutes contempt for the reasons outlined in the government section 3148 motion. So they go to a second reason and say, well, even if he didn't threaten them, we believe that he committed a crime, meaning criminal contempt, because he waved these documents around. So that was another briefing. But then the government goes on and say, if the court is not persuaded that remand is required under the section, then the court should at minimum reopen its consideration of the defendant's conditions of release. Then the government goes first. So it's like the government was giving the court various reasons as to why he should be remanded. Now, when Whitehead was convicted of all 5 counts, the government wanted him remanded, but the judge had already made its decision. The court had already made its decision that he hadn't broken any rules, blah, 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 and that the court was not going to remand Whitehead. So I don't know if the government, some of the points that they're putting in these motions were what they would have said if the court had obliged them and let them put on the record why they believe he should be remanded, or if this is something that they just figured out that he should not be out here. So then they go on and they give another reason and say, basically, if the court does not reopen and consider the defendant's bail, his detention is mandatory under the statute, and he should therefore be detained. For purposes of release pending sentence, the Bail Reform Act divides convictions into 2 categories. In the first, more lenient catch-all category, the statute provides that a court shall order a defendant who has been found guilty and is awaiting sentence detained unless there is clear and convincing evidence that the person is not likely to flee or pose a danger to the safety of any other person in the community. In the second and more stringent category, section 3143, it requires the court to order detention for defendant's conviction, among other things, of a crime of violence. Now, this argument, out of all the arguments, now we know that there are arguments about him threatening people. We know there are arguments about him waiving the documents. This section right here, that it seems like the government kind of just added like in the alternative, is what the court focused on and made them do briefings on why, pursuant to 3143, he should not be remanded, because it says that you shall be remanded. So this is really what he ended up going to be remanded for. It's because if you look at the statute that they're referring, so the judge gets on the bench and she just starts going through that statute, and she goes through all of the different steps. And when she goes through it, it was very similar to what the government's argument was. So they were saying under that statute, it requires that the court to order detention for defendants convicted of, among other things, a crime of violence, unless they can make a clear and convincing showing required under subsection A1 and either I, the court finds, quote, a substantial likelihood that a motion for acquittal or new trial will be granted, or 2, the government recommends that no sentence of imprisonment be imposed. So then the government goes on, and the court did the same analysis and said the defendant was convicted of count 3, attempted extortion. So what is crazy is that his crime of violence is that attempted extortion, which is the Brandon Belmonte, the one that he's been out here going in. He a snitch, he this, he that, he, you know, he was an informant, and the government, I got set up and all of that. The Brandon Belmonte that he's been harping on is really the reasoning why there is a mandatory detention, because it was the conviction for attempted extortion. So his attorney was arguing that attempted extortion is not a crime of violence, and so it shouldn't fall under the statute. The government said it is a crime of violence under pursuant to statute, and the court agreed with the government and came with all the case law that this is a crime of violence, and therefore that prong is satisfied. So of course they have exclusions, where if you qualify under some of the exclusions, then perhaps you may not have this mandatory remand. So the under the exclusion, it has a substantial likelihood. Let me see. I have the actual statute. So you'll be excluded from your mandatory detention if the judicial officer finds there is a substantial likelihood that a motion for acquittal or new trial will be granted. The court basically said, you don't qualify for that exclusion because I read your motion for acquittal and you're not going to win it, basically. You're going to lose. So that motion for a new trial, he's been out here waving around. The judge pretty much said you don't have you're not going to win that. So that was the first one. Then you have the second one. I was like, well, I guess he got his answer. So he was already just kind of, when the judge found out it was a crime of violence, his face, like he was looking, because I was sitting like more towards the left of his peripheral. So like he's in front of me. I'm back in the gallery, like where this chair is. That's kind of where I'm sitting. And he's like looking like, you know how somebody looking out the side eyeing you or whatever. He was looking. I was like, yeah, I heard it. I heard what she said. She said it's not a substantial likelihood that you're gonna win your motion for a new trial. So then she goes on. She's like, nope, that don't fall. So that's not gonna help you get out of this. So then she goes on and she talks about, there's the second one on here says, or if the government, another exclusion is if perhaps the government decides that they're not going to request you to be sentenced to prison. So if an attorney for the government has recommended that no sentence of imprisonment be imposed on the person, then that may be a reason why you don't, that you can avoid this mandatory jail time until sentencing. So the government stood up and they were like, basically they said, we don't know what we're going to do right now. We haven't done our sentencing memo. We haven't even really approached it. So I don't know. So they kind of were very safe with it. So they definitely didn't say they weren't going to request that he go to prison, but they just left that up in the air. So the court was just like, well, if you change your mind, let me know. Well, it don't look like you got that one working for you either. So then the judge goes on, and the third one was, if you have exceptional circumstances under the law. So there's a case law that if you have substantial circumstances. So apparently, I don't know if he did a briefing and they asked for it to be under seal, because his attorney wrote a letter to the court, and because of the whole child support thing, for those of you that were here and saw that, Whitehead was saying that one of the reasons why he shouldn't be remanded is because he take care of his family. Well, the government responded and said, well, based on your probation officer report where you're supposed to be transparent, you're not working, your wife doesn't even live with you, you guys live separate, and you owe child support, like tens of thousands of dollars. So we talked about that. So his attorney wrote a letter to the judge and basically said that the government was being retaliatory, I guess, by putting that information out there, knowing it was going to be public information. So they requested, his attorney requested that all their stuff be under seal. So I don't know if any of that stuff ended up being under seal, any of the responses when they were briefing back and forth. There are some things that were filed. So I don't know. But his attorney tried to allege that now, because people know that he lives by himself and his wife lives by herself, their safety is in jeopardy. It just amazes me with him how he can go online, berate, go off on people, threaten people, do all of that. And then in these pleadings, it's like, I'm the victim. They're going to do this to me. Why they do? Like, you're the one that brought it up and said that you take care of your family. As the opposing counsel, they're supposed to basically say or state anything that's not to contradict or whatever that you say. Duh, that's kind of how it goes. It's like a tennis match. So I'm trying to understand how you were just like, I can't believe the government put all my business out here and told the whole world I was broke. It was just crazy. So anyway, I said all that to say, I don't know if there were additional things filed, because when the court was saying these exceptional reasons, I guess Whitehead gave some exceptional reasons. And one of those reasons was he may end up in prison with some people that are already there or something. So I don't know what that pertains to. I'm assuming it may be the robbery situation, but I'm just guessing because I didn't see it. So that was one of the reasons that he may end up in prison with. And then the judge basically was like, that's not an exceptional reason, because you don't know where you would be. You can be anywhere. You don't even know if they're going to be in the same prison, whoever these people are. Then he gave another exceptional reason and talked about his family. Well, remember the government already debunked that and said personal reasons like taking care of your family and all that is not considered an exceptional reason. So the court said basically, well, there's really no exception or no exclusion to the fact that under the statute shall be remanded. So you're remanded. But what I am going to do for you, Mr. Whitehead, this is what I'm going to do. I will move up your court date so that you don't have to be lingering in your state of being confined. So now you guys know it was July 1st. It has been moved to June, I think it's June 17th. So his sentencing has been moved. It is no longer July 1st. Sentencing has been moved. Well, when the court offered that to Whitehead, his attorney said, well, let me talk to my client. Client said, Whitehead said, yeah, I want it moved up. So now they have moved up his sentencing. So he is scheduled to be sentenced on June 17th. And then after the judge put that on the book, she literally just got up and grabbed her stuff and was like, Deps, y'all do what y'all do. She ain't even sit there. She got up and she got up out of there. She didn't even sit back to see what happened. But you know me, I sat there. I was like, I sat there just like this. Like, what's about to happen? The Deps came. They slowly crept up from the back. They stood there. He got up. He hugged his attorney. Then he hugged his other attorney. Kissed each other. Then he took his jacket off. I don't even got a jacket over here. Had his jacket on like this. He said,
You know the people that actually acted out.
he had his jacket on. And he didn't have on a Gucci jacket. I told you guys he don't dress like that in court. Had his jacket on. He was like, jacket. Gave it to his attorney. He had his little tie on. I don't even have nothing to make as a tie. Had his little tie on like this. He was like, gave it to his attorney. He had his belt. Gave it to his attorney. She took everything. She did it all nicely and stuff. Put it up. He turned around to the fellas and said, y'all got me, man. Y'all got me. No, he ain't say nothing. He just kind of stood there. So then one of the marshals, right, because the marshals was behind him. So one of the marshals said, they asked me, they said, is this your family? Because I guess they were going to let him maybe say his goodbyes and do his hugs and whatever and before he left. I was like, no. But, that was just my initial reaction. I should have been like, yeah, just to see what he was going to say. But I just wasn't even like in that petty mood, I should have said, yeah, I'm his sister. Can I get a hug before you leave? But that would have been too much. So
should have got a picture with the.
I ain't do that. Nah, I'm not taking the picture. Not up in federal court. I heard you guys talking about get selfies. Not up in federal court. I'm not. Took it. So he went on ahead, and I was like, nope. I don't know. He didn't really have. It was a young lady. I told you guys about her before, and she started coming for the trial. And at first, I did not know why she was there. But she eventually, around lunchtime at one of those court dates, she waited around for him, and then she gave him a hug. So I think she explained to him who she was. So I don't know, maybe it was an online thing, like from Instagram or something. I don't know. But how some people, and I don't know the young lady, like when people don't drive cars and they like bring everything with them. Like she seemed like she was a young girl and she was bringing a bunch of bags and stuff with her, like, people that might catch a bus or something like that. She was bringing a lot of stuff with them. But she did come, but the judge had already made her decision by the time she came. But other than that, his mama, it wasn't no ex-wives, no current wives. It wasn't anybody. There was no family that was there. So then I said, I'm going to sit back for a minute and see, I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to make sure it was really going to happen. I don't know why I was just waiting around like that. So then they pull out the chains. It's like they have the chains for your hands and for your feet. I was like, dang. He was just like, and I was like, dang, y'all really got to like handcuff him? That's kind of messed up. And then they did their thing. He was up there. But it was two guys behind him. They handcuffed him. And listen, I said it too. I told Deb, I said, imagine that you go to court and the last person you see, you don't have any family, but the last person you see is the person you cannot stand from YouTube. Like, that just gotta suck. Like, the last person you see is the person that you don't like. Because he immediately told his attorneys, he let them know who I was and stuff. But I'm not in there causing no trouble. I'm just here to cover the case. It's not that deep. So he ended up he went on to his new home. And then I left out of there and I did my live with you guys. Then after that, me and Deb go to get something to eat. So I'm eating my little shrimp salad.
Oh, yeah, tell him.
Deb gonna say, Pam, this is a serious question. It's like, what? He was like, do you feel bad that you're eating this shrimp salad, but Whitehead is eating bologna right now? I was like,
now, guys, tell the truth. Tell the truth. Was I wrong?
I was like, oh my God. The shade. And he said it so serious with a straight face. I was like, what? Huh? I did have a drink for him. I mean, I toasted up to him and all of that. It gave me a headache, just kind of like how he did. That's why I had to come on a couple of hours later. But yeah. Thank you so much, Panda Bear, for becoming a member. Stacy said, yes, Pam, thank you. And thanks for that. It's Dev, not Devin. Thank you. Thank you for being a member for 8 months, Stacy, the first twin.
A lot of people laughing. Like I was dead serious with my question.
Jai, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. You said that was the evil spirit trying to stare you down, but no weapon formed against you will prosper. I can't even like explain how he cannot stand me. Like if I never thought, okay, maybe it's just a YouTube thing, he literally cannot stand me. That was very, very clear on today. Alice said, did he quote Psalm 1? He didn't say anything. It wasn't anything to say. Now he will be talking on his sentencing date, which I told you has now been moved. So that's why I was saying a lot of the articles, they were saying that because of the disclosure of the documents is why he went down, and also that his sentence was July 1st. They were just regurgitating what they knew already because all of that stuff changed today in court. So like I said, the government, there was a plethora of reasons that they gave on why he should be remanded, and the court focused on the one of which it said it was mandatory for her to do it. And she basically said, I don't really have a choice. That's really what the judge said. I really don't have a choice. And said, because of that, I don't have no reason to even go over whether he did threaten the people, whether he was held in contempt. So she didn't even go over any of that stuff. And she said that because once she found a reason to remand him, what we going to do? Just keep kicking him while he down? I don't, So she wasn't going to do it. So she didn't go over it. So Alice, he didn't quote his favorite scripture because he didn't have anything to say. Patty, thank you for being a member for 3 months. You said, Pam, you should have said goody. You know what? You said our New York inmate calls available. He's going to be in federal. Federal calls are not subjected to FOIA. So unfortunately, this will not be a phone calls from prison case. But I don't know who he's going to call because sentencing should be interesting because he did send out requests to people and asked them to do character letters for him. It was very informal, especially since you sent kind of like a mass text to people trying to see who would do a character letter for you and then ask them, please don't disclose it to nobody. Please don't let nobody know that I'm begging you guys to do these character letters or whatever. But of course that got out. So if you have not seen it, he did it to himself. That was for always, forever, for life. Well, it's a thing called reaping and sowing. You can't consistently sow certain seeds and think you're not going to reap that harvest. It doesn't just go for money, and whenever you do good, it goes when you treat people wrong as well. So now he got out here, and I promise you, I can't guarantee, but I think if he would have just sat down somewhere, the government probably wouldn't even brought this, because the judge had if this was mandatory, that means, in my mind, if this was mandatory under the statute, when he was convicted on the day that he was convicted, the judge should have remanded him then. Like, it's no different circumstances, just days later. I don't know if it's the government realized that they could have done this, or if they were going to leave it alone when the judge made the decision, but then he kept doing stuff. So then they were like, you know what, we about to pull the trigger. I don't know why it happened this late, but it sounds like something they could have done in the beginning to me. Shelby, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. You said your next case, Pam, is him escaping from jail trying to get to his Facebook and IG to his people.
Wow.
You know what?
Wow.
I said it too. I said he's probably in there. It's bothering him. First of all, only attorneys and the court staff can have cell phones in federal court. So he knows I had a phone because I pulled it out several times while I was there. On breaks, I'll go out, talk to my clients. you can't have a laptop unless you get permission from the judge. It ain't that deep. So I couldn't really do the work. So I was really relying on my phone when I was there and even today. So I think in his mind, like he knew whatever I put out, he can't come back and try to rebut it. That's what I think was probably bothering him. But he did not. I had a few people ask, like, did he cry? Because, you know, he cried on the stand. From my understanding, he has a history where he can cry and get empathy from judges or whatever, from what people told me. No, he didn't. And I really believe people say maybe he thought that he was not going, that he thought he was going to jail. I don't believe that he really thought he was. Because like I said, when those marshals were out in the hallway, that was my initial thought. I'm like, what they're doing? They just sitting here waiting with their handcuffs on their pants. Like, that's not just random and happenstance. So, but he asked his attorney, like, does that mean the judge made the decision? It seems like he wouldn't have even asked that question if he thought that he was going to leave anyway. I think he really thought. So yesterday, I know on his live he did, his church service, he was actually talking about tithes and offerings. So he was trying to get people to sow seeds yesterday. And he was comparing the bloggers. Again, the blogger's name always comes up. And he talked about how people do super chats or do cash apps or whatever for bloggers, but it's a problem for the church. It's like, what? You need to sow into this word. It's called victory lap. That was the seed. Victory lap. So anybody, it was somebody who allegedly sold $100, girl, you might want to take that back, because you can't sow in the bad ground either. And he ain't take no victory lap today. But that was his seed for yesterday. And he was really going off about people think that I use the money for clothes and all of that. But it's like, what do you use the money for? You don't have a building. You're not, like, what are you doing with it? Let's be clear. If somebody gave you money on Sunday, just be honest about it and say, here's my cash app. If anybody want to bless me for the time I spend with the word. But when you try to manipulate people like you're giving to the church, you're not giving it to me. Like, what? And it was, he alleges, like I said, I don't know if anybody really gave. He may just say that. Like, so-and-so just said they gave $100. So-and-so just said they gave this. You know, I don't know if it's true, if he just runs his mouth or whatever, but yeah. Pen Pal, thank you for the super chat. You said, Pam, I really appreciate the info. You are hilarious. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. CKB, I appreciate you. Said, drinks on me even though I don't drink. Well, you are one of the few people in the legal area who doesn't, because when I passed the bar, they immediately sent me all the list of the Alcohol Anonymouses. I'm not lying. It came with my bar card. They had Alcohol Anonymous for women. They had Alcohol Anonymous for men. Alcohol Anonymous for divorced people, single people, trans people, white people, black people. Like, I was just like, it made me nervous. I'm like, so everybody's just alcoholics? Like, what is this? But I appreciate you. Thank you so much. That was kind of you to give that generous super chat. Let's see if you guys have any more questions. He was trying to get money for his books. I told you, if I was his baby mama, I'm not joking. The fact that he owed tens of thousands of dollars, I would have been over there in his chat yesterday with my cash app. You know? Oh, Sister Smith, you're giving $100. Let me give you my cash app because that's my $100. But you know, that's why he doesn't like me, and he probably likes his ex-wife better. I'm just saying. Stephanie, thank you for the super chat. You said, thank you, Pam. Thank you for helping that church he attempted to steal. And they're still in litigation. So he still has all of these actions in litigation. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he proceeds. So with the Glory of God situation, we know that suddenly he had the deed in his name. They went to court a couple of weeks ago and they argued that case. And I think the judge held it in abeyance, meaning they're going to come back and make a decision, maybe do a written opinion. And Whitehead has a whole different attorney, so he's still fighting to get the church. Now, because there were tax foreclosure issues with it pertaining to Glory of God, losing it through tax foreclosure, even though it seems like there was some funny business behind them losing it to tax foreclosure. Really, until the person with the tax foreclosure gets it straight with Whitehead, they really should not be putting too much money into dealing with it because it's a clouded title at this point. But all of them are still fighting. I did talk to the pastor today, and they're still fighting in court, and hopefully they'll get their building back and I'll be able to update. But I don't know how much Whitehead stuff we'll be talking about after his sentencing in a few weeks. Let me see. M. Sear, thank you so much for being a member for 2 months. You said he deserves every bit of shame and embarrassment. Well, thank you, Lola Boom, for gifting and welcome to the new intellect. Thank you for expanding our legal community. Praise God is a sad day. I just feel for his children. If he had listened to you, you gave him all the advice that his lawyer never gave him. Thank you, Harold, for the super chat. Some people don't want to listen because this is the issue, is what I've learned. And it's very unfortunate. People want you to pick a side. That's it. So if you don't say things where you're pumping them up or you're favoring them all the time, then you can't hear things that are actually beneficial to you. And that's what I learned, because I'm going to say what the law is on, excuse me. I'm going to say what the law is on both sides. I said with the Brandon, it's interesting to me that Brandon Belmonte, the attempted extortion, and to me, that was the weakest part of his case. That's just my opinion. And I told you guys, like, he should have, even though some of the other ones, I think it would have been more difficult for him to fight, if he would have rightfully not just throwing jabs of he's an informant, he's a crook, that's not an argument. We all conceded that he's indicted as well for allegedly doing people bad. So that wasn't an argument. But when I was in court and I seen where they got that extortion from, I felt like there were things that he could have defended it on. And it just was not vigorously defended on. So it's very interesting that becomes the count that lands you in custody sooner than later. Because it was interesting because it was extorting them for $5,000. Whitehead was alleging that Belmonte owed him $5,000 because he said he owed him $5,000 because he had to pay for his own rental. But he didn't come to court with any rental receipts. He didn't come with anything. And his whole defense was, just believe what I say because I'm the bishop. That's what it felt like. Like you wanted the jury. Now you got the prosecutor, you have the government who has every sentence that they say, they have something to back it up. I don't care if it's a receipt, if it's a phone record, if it's a text message, if it's an audio, if it's a bank statement. They had receipt for everything that they said. Everything with Pauline Anderson and her son, all conversations, they were able to prove it that it happened from a text, an email, or a phone record, or all three. Most of the time, it would be all of them. Then they would show from the cell towers where they were at when it was happening. I mean, they were just, so you get on the stand and you're like, it wasn't me. I didn't make those bank statements. Someone else did. It was somebody else. Like, that is not an argument. So if you are going to go on the stand and basically not even really give an argument, why even waste the time of the government, the taxpayers' money? You should have went and seen, is there a deal that I could get? Because, yeah, I jacked up on some of that. Like, okay, they caught me. Just plead. And then you probably would have at least seen the light of day and you would have known. You would have had control over the outcome if you could have gotten some type of a plea. But no, you went on this rampage, the government setting you up, everybody's crooked, they lied on you, they did this, and the black man and the black man, and I mean, he has not stopped talking since he was arrested. So you made people not want to try to work with you. But it's the arrogance, and he learned today. He learned today. But you said, oh, there's like 200 other anonymous groups from drugs and narcotics. Oh, yes, they really did. Like, they sent a list, and it kind of made me nervous. I'm like, so the law make you want to drink like that? Am I sure that's what I want to do? I'm not sure, because I've never been a drinker like that. I can do a drink, but like having drink inks, no. Thank you. Open Doors of Opportunity said, Pam, you are hilarious. I appreciate that. Linda said BLC is a fool to pay any bills for that bum. I don't believe nothing that he says. I don't believe that she's paying his bills. I really don't. Now, the real question is, some people were pondering or wondering if he actually still has the Rolls Royce. I'm like, how did he get to court today? What happened to his car? It's a very interesting question, but some people said he doesn't have it anymore. I don't know. We know the house goes up for auction May 31st. So.
I'd like to say something on a serious note.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the chat to hear this. I think we should give a round of applause to my wife for her dedication, her hard work and due diligence for covering this case. She's not the only one, but collectively, her and so many others have brought enough attention to this that there's a lot of people that will not have to deal with what Miss Pauline Anderson, the Church Glory of God, and so many others has dealt with under the hand of Whitehead.
Can you guys hear this? I don't know if they can hear you. Did you look in the chat? No, did you look in the chat?
Can y'all? Yes.
Yeah, it looked like they could hear
you.
you.
A round of applause to my wife and so many other content creators.
I was behind
for
on
the dedication that you guys have done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the love and support. Thank you so much for going along with a lot of my legal shenanigans where I just pull up to court.
Anything to support you.
Larry says she wasn't his wife. Oh, I don't know. I didn't see any papers. You know, I don't report unless I see paperwork, but I know they don't live together because he said that. I didn't say that. He said that. Let me see. We at the law offices. Let me go over here, Tracy. We at the law offices of Hood and Ghetto don't write character letters. Pam, when will we get the list of items to be auctioned off so we can be that yellow suit?
Wow.
I don't think, Tracy, he would give me anything, okay?
St. James, you need to buy that house.
Right? I don't think Whitehead would, even if I paid top dollar for it, he wouldn't let me have it because I am definitely not his favorite person. The look he gave me was like, dang.
Ray Bishop, you need to buy that Rolls Royce.
Thank you so much, Simeon Toko, for the $5 super chat. You said great job, Pam. I appreciate that. Terry Reed, thank you for the thank you. I appreciate that. And Lady Ella, thank you for the super chat. Sin said, thanks, Pam. That's why Asia was smiling this morning and her champion for break. That's what everybody was saying, that she had this level of peace this morning.
Glow.
They said she had a glow, like she had a level of peace. I couldn't imagine dealing with him because she has to, even if she's not with him, that would still be your baby daddy. So you have a young child, and he does have that child, and he just seems like a person that just show up like see a flyer where she's at and just shows up. You know, that control kind of bullying mechanism. And then she gotta smile and nod and act like everything's okay because she doesn't want to draw too much attention. Like she does, it seems like that. So shout out to Asia.
Lolisa's in the chat.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me get I had a lot of cash apps earlier. So excuse me. Hey Lisa.
Miss Walker asked if I'm a preacher because I sound
Excuse
like
me. Alice, thank you for the cash app. Trudy, thank you. Sharon, Crystal, Faith Speaks, Gertrude. This is from earlier, so I don't know if you're in the chat. I hope you are, so you can get my thank you. Tyra, Trista, Lisa, Sandra, Carolyn. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of the support and the love here. Lolisa, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Thank you for expanding our intellectual and legal community. We appreciate that. And did I get it? I think I got everybody. Let me see. Yep, I think I got everybody. Y'all got any more questions? Any more questions? Because, like I said, I didn't see, it wasn't like New York Times or Post or any of them were in the courtroom today. So when I saw the Post, I believe what the Post did was there is a notation on the website that says he was remanded. So most people at least know that portion that he was remanded. But why he was remanded, honestly, is just speculation from anybody else that wasn't in there. Because I think there is a assumption that it was because he did those documents, because he released and revealed those documents. But I just showed you the statute. That's the statute that the judge made her analysis on, and she said, based on that statute, he shall be remanded. And she did it where it's like, I don't really have a choice. Sorry. It's kind of how she did it. And she probably didn't want to make that decision on whether this is considered a threat, whether this is contempt, whether it was on accident. So this was probably the safest one in order to ensure that he was remanded. Barry R said, Pam, this made my day for this creep. Hitting a woman? Who hitting a woman? You talking about Diddy? We on Diddy? Like who hit a woman? I'm so behind. Let's see. Nene said, it's a miracle you didn't burst into flames from his look. It was bad. I'm not joking. I've never felt like, I knew he didn't like me. You know, I knew I wasn't his favorite person. I know he could have went his entire life, because the problem is, because I am a lawyer, I know how to read the documents. I know how to read a statute. And I don't know if he's been able to do this, if people have bought a lot of this stuff that he's selling, and I just said what it really was. And so I think he didn't like me for that. And he took it personal. It just was not, it wasn't never personal for me. I was like, if it was personal, everybody that emailed me, I would have said, oh yes, please come on my show. Oh, tell your story. He did what to you 20 years ago? You'll be surprised at some of the people that I've talked to that told me some things where it was like, oh wow. Pam, how Whitehead and Nesto hate to see you. Right. Nesto don't like me either, but I get it. Nesto said I was talking reckless. Almost. I'm like, what did I do? Just coming with the goods. That's it. I'm trying to make sure people, but when people want a certain narrative out, and then you get somebody that's willing to say what the other side. So it was like with Whitehead, it was always, you give the documents, but you only get part of the documents. It was like, whatever. Like it was like, first you said, go get the documents. People got the documents. Then it was the transcript. I was at the trial. I know what happened. That's the thing. He just does not. It's like he wants to send people to where to look, but he knows people are not going to go look. He has that mentality when they say, if you want to keep people ignorant, then put it in a book type deal. That's kind of how he came across, where he knew people weren't. But then you have people like Tracy that was in his chat, like, that wasn't even your prosecutor. Why are you talking about that prosecutor being corrupt? Why are you talking about that prosecutor being corrupt? That wasn't your prosecutor, so that don't even matter. You know, and he doesn't like people like that. Those are the people that he blocks. He wants people that's like, oh, man of God, it's okay. We all falling short of the glory of God. Like, he wants that. He wants you to just believe that because he has this pastoral persona, you're supposed to automatically believe what he says. But it's like, we know a lot of people that are pastors that aren't genuine with it. We're not stupid. Shirley said Bishop is a mess. Well, Bishop is over there meeting his new family right now. Amy said, well, he's going to worry Aisha by Asia by calling her from prison, and we will be waiting the calls from PCF. There won't be any calls. That's federal. You can only do state calls. Federal doesn't release them. That's why it was an issue with the whole R. Kelly lawsuit that he tried to file, because somebody released phone calls and conversations, and it was somebody within, because they don't release them. Now, for instance, if you're in a lawsuit, you got to be still, because I hear you. If you're in a lawsuit, like I do wrongful convictions, you can try to subpoena them. They keep them. When they say them calls are being recorded, they definitely keep them even in prison, because I've had phone calls and people been in there for 20 years. They got 20 years worth of phone calls, but they don't release them to the public. It's not subjected to a Freedom of Information Act. Thank you so much for adding to the memberships. Eve has many faces. I appreciate it. Tori said, Pam, he is on his way to Rikers Island. That's the worst deal that you could be in. You think so? Tori in New York City? I don't know where he's going. I have no clue. I don't know where his part, with federal, it's different. It's very interesting because, and one of the reasons why, aside from I just wanted to see it myself when he did get the cuffs and stuff, was I've never had a federal client. I was just telling Deb, like, the last federal criminal client I had, it's been probably 6 years or something. Yeah, it was like 6 years. And she was out after she was sentenced for probably 4 or 5 months. And then they let her literally fly on a plane and turn herself into the prison. It was never where she was remanded. She never had handcuffs on her ever. So that's why I was like, interesting.
But he's a super criminal. So
yeah, I mean, it was a different situation, but just a different experience, I don't. Did I miss somebody's memberships? Can he get Lucci and Indy in a jumpsuit? Now, Natty, you know that wasn't nice.
Nat.
That was not nice.
Thoughtful, but not nice.
He's gonna have to get. Don't they wear like the little khaki pants and all that stuff like they do when you at a private school? Yeah. So I know some of you guys might be disappointed, but you won't see him on live. Check your email. Okay, I will, D Queen. I definitely will. Miss Rhonda said, how is Nesto calls released to the public? Nesto is in county state jail. state calls, and that's not even in all states, are released under the Freedom of Information Act. That is not the same for federal calls. Yeah. They put Sam Bankman-Fried in Rikers after he violated bond by getting on the internet and harassing a witness. Sound familiar? That's what CJ said. You don't hear harassing witnesses, you better be careful. Don't get caught slipping. Yes, they let some drive up to the federal penitentiary. Thank you, Patty. Yes. He'll probably be paying someone for some illegal alterations to his jumpsuit and outfit. That was not nice. Gigi said he got white tees and khaki pants. Right. You know what though? This has been a very quiet week. So maybe he was a little worried because he didn't really go live like that. He was like posting pictures of himself, I think, but he didn't really go live like that. He went live on Saturday and did I think he did a church type service and he went on Sunday. Lovebug asked me again. A lot of you guys keep talking about Rikers. I don't know. Nene, thank you so much for the Cash App. That is so generous of you. That's the holding spot at Rikers?
Whether you go in state or federal.
That's bad. I done seen Rikers. They talk about that on Law and Order a lot.
That's where they have Wayne at.
And they have a lot of the, I'm into the 1983 lawsuits. A lot of them are from Rikers, like the inhumane treatment. But when they had like that, what's that lady name? Anna something. She had changed her whole name, and she said she was an heiress out in New York. They had her out in Rikers, so she got convicted too, and I believe it was a federal. So yeah,
that's the holding spot.
Oh, that is sucky. Oh, no wonder he sped that thing up. I done sped it up too. When the judge said, okay. Yeah, if I was sitting in Rikers too, Judge, can we do what's your schedule looking like next week? Just let me get in where I got to get in. So basically now we're going to come back when the sentencing memos come out. So, and we'll see what the government is asking for. We'll know that soon. So we'll come back for that. So the government has to submit their sentencing memo by June 16th. And then the defense, Whitehead, has to do his by June 3rd. So put it on your calendar. We'll be back here on June 3rd in order to see what his attorneys are requesting in the sentencing memo. Because that would be interesting. Because you think they'll ask for him to get probation or something? I would do something like that. Shoot, I don't care. I don't care. I always look foolish when I did criminal. It was times where the judge would be like, since you just got the nerve to even ask for some of this stuff, I'm going to entertain it. All they can do is tell you no. That was always my stance as a defense attorney. All they can do is tell. And that's why when Dev used to say, I will call like prosecutor's office and they didn't answer, you can ask Dev. I will go up to that prosecutor's office and I will sit by their door. You're having lunch with me today. And I got a lot of deals made like that. They was just like, we just gonna give her this piece of paper because the fact that she going hard like this, listen.
Can I tell a portion of that?
Yeah.
My wife had a client and she thought of this creative deal. She literally for 4 days, every day went to the prosecutor's office, sat in front of the door, spoke to them. What she wanted creatively was something that you could do, but it was so far-fetched. I think they gave it to her because she blew their mind by her asking.
Well, no, it was allowable under the statute that I used was very broad. Now, other people may not have used it like I used it or even interpreted like I did, but I do agree. I think when I came in front of the judge with that deal, of course, you can't take the deal unless the client agrees. So the judge was like putting all the proofs on the record, which is the factual basis, and asked the client, do you accept this deal? And he was like, yes. And she said, shoot, you should. Like, she said it on the record, like, shoot, you should. I ain't never seen nothing like this before. Because it was basically, he was accused of a lot of financial crimes. It was a lot of financial crimes. And I made it where once he paid it back, they dismissed this case and he got his fingerprints back. So it's like it never happened.
I was about to say, have you guys ever heard of somebody who was arrested, but after their deal was done, that they were able to get their fingerprints back out the system?
You can request it. Ours, you can request it. I think a lot of people just don't utilize some of the things that's out there. That's what I think it is that some people don't go as deep. I'll go find a law from 1910. I don't care if it applies and it hasn't been repealed. But that's why I couldn't do criminal like that, because I was just going way too hard. It's the real Toshi said, will his federal mugshot be public? No, I don't think federal. I've never seen federal mugs. Y'all seen federal mugshots? Usually you'll see state, like even with Trump, we didn't see the mugshot that he had for the case he has going on right now in New York, but we saw the one in state court with Madam DA Fani Willis. So I don't think so. Chef Don said he knew people wasn't going to pay for them documents. That's why he said, go pull them. You can go right on Pacer. You don't have, like, who in their spare time, like, seriously, is going to go pull documents unless this is kind of what you do or you're a content creator? What just random person typically just goes pulls documents, legal documents, and try to figure out what it means? That's like you're reading another language. The law can be another language and it comes across like that. So if you don't even know what you're reading, why does that matter? So Queen Brielle said detention center holds you until sentencing, in which BOP he will transfer to. So they'll just let him stay at a detention center. Sure, I don't know. I don't know where he went, but he's not over there in Paramus right now. That's what I do know.
He ain't in that Rolls Royce.
He's not in his prayer closet. That's what I do know. Bishop B said that man asked people to fast until after his court date. I'd be eating a steak instead. Fast for what? You know, it's the abuse of the Bible for me. That's just like for the federal government to be able to say, for the prosecutors to say, he uses the scripture, touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm, as a threat. Who uses the Bible? Because that's what he's saying. He's basically saying, you do something to me, it's going to come back on you. That was part of the text messages between Pauline Anderson and Whitehead and Rashid. It was like that was part of it. When Rashid didn't want to deal with him no more and the Andersons didn't, he did all of this scripture stuff, like basically your life gonna be cursed because you did something to me. If you don't sit down, like, who taught them this level of confusion? Because he is confused. He is so.
You's a clown. That's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? Huh? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh?
I'm not gonna call
Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you say on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
Thank you so much. You said, will he go through pre-jail training? I don't know what pre-jail training is, Terry. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know what that is. Like, will he do certain things while he's in federal prison? A lot of those are camps. So I wonder if they say federal is different than, state. Because when I had one of my clients, when she was going to federal, they sent, it was almost like a brochure. It was crazy. They was talking about they did Pilates. It was the same place in West Virginia that Martha Stewart went to. So they had like Pilates classes. I heard it wasn't as luxurious as they made the brochure look, but it was just weird to me. I was like, why they making it seem like you're going to have a good time for these little 6 months? Like, nobody wants to be in prison. What? Narcissist loves to weaponize Christianity all the time. Yes, Pam, that's my point too. Using the word of God to manipulate and control people. That's from Nikita Jones. Thank you so much for your comment. Dev said, I know he's having a total fit right now. See, he wasn't going to cry in front of me. Now, if it was me, I wouldn't care who was there.
But this is not his first go round.
I get it, but he has cried. You should have seen him on the stand. He's a crier. I don't know if it's a legit crier, but he's definitely a crier. He knows how to cry on cue. I'm just saying I think he was trying to just avoid my contact. And then after a while, I kind of felt bad that I was sitting there. So I didn't watch like the total removal because I got up. I was like, you know what, Deb, I'm kind of feeling a little petty right now. He was like, so you should watch the whole thing.
But
See, when I seen the haircuts, I was like, oh.
Him crying in trial or a hearing is different than it's too late. The judge gave her sentencing and there ain't nobody in the room but you and the marshals.
Tori in New York said, how long do you think they'll give them? That's a good question. I would say, if I were to guess,
30.
I'll say 20.
30 years.
15 to 20 years.
I say 20 to 30.
Okay. He is a habitual. I have to look at his sentencing guidelines because he's going to get some get some points for that habitual. Because when he got convicted of identity fraud and all of the deception and all of that stuff back in the day, he got 20 something years for that. He only did 6.5 because there was a technicality. There was something that they did wrong. And then of course he wasn't no problem while he was in jail, and they put all that together and he was able to get out, from my understanding. But they gave him like 20 years. That was back then. And he hadn't even done well, no, I'm not gonna say that because I think that indictment was huge too. It was probably like 35 counts. It was just, and I think the jury convicted him of half of it. But apparently he didn't learn.
Cupcakes is hilarious.
What cupcakes?
He said he need a year for every dollar he owed Pauline Anderson.
He ain't getting out. Sure. I don't know. We'll see how the government go hard. They kind of made it like we don't know what we're going to do. We haven't decided if we're going to ask for prison time or not. I was like, what?
Most people saying more than 25.
Okay. Y'all said more than 25. Tyree said, prepare for jail. Madoff was sent somewhere for 30 days before jail. Brenda said her brother did federal. My mayor was in prison with Martha Stewart. Peppermint Patty. Your mayor?
Was it in Fairfield?
She said her mayor was in Fairfield. I mean, that ain't uncommon, but
Right.
He knows that incarceration is and what goes on. That's true. But I think he kind of psychs himself out. Like he's delusional. He's delusional. I don't know what he was going to do. He just had too much stuff on today. He should have just went on ahead and wore a jogging suit to court. Because taking that, got to take your tie. He ain't had that bishop's ring. He don't wear that. That's what I should have asked him. Hey, where's your bishop ring at? We trying to put some money down on that child support. We want to see if that ruby is real. I wonder who he gave the bishop's ring to. Maybe he gave it to one of his kids. Miss Rhonda said he needs anger management and lots of counseling. I agree. But I heard he's been like this his whole life. He's been like this his whole life, so I don't know. Baby, I'd have been crying like a mug. Laversa, thank you for the Cash App, and I appreciate it. D Queen said he's in a closet. It's called 6x8 sale.
Well,
I guess, and the truth shall set you free. Thank you so much for the super chat. Miss Pam, these pastors are uses the word of God to make people feel bad. The people will do a lot of things. That's why you got to read the word for yourself. That's why, I had a conversation earlier with somebody about spiritual manipulation. I was being really, really serious because I don't know what that even is. If you read the word for yourself and you know God for yourself and you spend time in prayer and you turn over that plate to crucify the flesh, and you literally, because when you fast, if you're not chewing on the word of God so that you can you chew on the word of God instead of food. So if you're not reading the word of God to learn and to get closer, you ain't doing nothing but you're on a diet. That's it. Like, just not eating. Like, that's it. So if you do that for yourself, how you get a spirit of discernment, and you can discern people that are trying to control you, trying to be cultish, not really don't have any foundation for what they're saying. I can catch it like that. There's people like, there's a musician. He don't even take me to the churches no more because they'll come to me and I'm like, if you don't sit down somewhere and go do something else, like, why are you a pastor? And he was like, I ain't gonna never keep no gig if you just come to these churches with me because I can't help it. I'm like, no, we're not going out to eat because my spirit don't align with your spirit. Like, that's that. And I don't even know these people from a can of paint, but I know what they do. They try to manipulate you like, oh, well, if I get the wife, then we're going to get him to be our musician, or everybody want him to be an associate pastor in the church and all of that crazy stuff. Like, no, I'm not. No.
My wife's discernment is always.
So I'm not. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I have to look into it, but people are using that a lot. Spiritual manipulation. You can try it, but I'm not saying that people don't try it. What I'm saying is how you can't discern it, I guess is the best way I can say it. People can try it, but if you are actually getting into the word yourself and knowing God for yourself, how you can't discern it, I guess is my question. But yeah, that's it. That's a whole nother conversation for another live. Cupcake says Sonya could have got him off his civil. She could have got him in jail faster. That's what would have happened. He probably would have got remanded when they said he was guilty. Hey, Sonya Scooter. Y'all with these names, I can't take it. Oh my God. Bishop B said I saw that same ring for $35.95 on Amazon. I actually did buy that ring one time.
And a watch to match.
I bought a watch to match, and it was pretty cheap. But I know mine was fake, and I got it from Amazon. I don't know if his is fake. If his is fake, then he really put some good clear nail polish on his ring, because that thing has lasted the test of time. It done been through a lot. And he still throw that ring on, but he never wears it to court at all. He's never worn it. He knows that's too bulky, and it's not. Just like in court, he doesn't wear no Gucci's, no fit. That's why when he talks about that on lives and stuff, that that's ridiculous. Because when you go to court and you feel like your fate is in someone's hand, you wearing the most Easter suit that I have ever seen. He had like a checker type suit on or whatever. Nice little dress shoes. They ain't had no name. Little Stacy Adams. I don't know if they still make Stacy. Nice little shoes. Superstar Bella said he put that Theon's clear on his rent. Anastasia said his lawyers probably had to tell him to tone it down. Well, he should have listened to his lawyers when they told him to stop talking on the internet too. And he probably wouldn't have brought attention to himself. He is sure. Hey, Kingdom. Hey. What'd she say?
Asia's probably partying at the mansion right now.
Asia, listen. Asia said, come on in, come on in. I see you. I see you guys. Come on in. Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord. Oh, he is good.
We got the victory today.
Then she looks over there. Let me see what she over there.
What am I that got me, sir?
Listen, I ain't mad at her. Dang, Diddy reportedly legally barred from saying Cassie's name in public after settlement. Oh, that's probably because people was talking about him not saying her name, so he had to clarify why he didn't say her name. Because it's probably a part. Yeah, she got a different smile on her face. Look at Asia.
Glowing.
Look at Asia. She looked free. She looked delivered. Delivered.
She was 10 years younger.
Come on now, Asia.
No more.
Oh, look at that smile. She like, hello. Ah, look at that smile. She gets to step out with her man now. Look at her. Look at her.
Her new man.
Look at that. Ooh, 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 ooh. Woo. Child, I feel you, girl. I might have to send a BLC a cash app. I feel
You
you.
think he gonna be a bishop?
Huh?
Her new man, you think he gonna be a bishop?
Look at her. Oh, come on. She said, oh, bless the Lord. Look at her. Look at them nails. Come on, Asia.
Look at that.
Look at that.
The beauty of holiness.
Look at her. See what happens?
Do it, mother.
Come on now. She's free. Mr. Gigi said she knew by faith he was going in today. I don't know what she knew, but she looked different than them other days. She looked stressed out.
Who asked for $1,000?
What? Asking for $1,000 seed before May 31st. Asia, I was just giving you props, girl. Don't do it. What's the name of the seed? I hope it wasn't Victory Lap.
It's called child support.
You know what? She ain't got no. Dwayne next. Are you serious right now? Is that a serious question? I'm not even gonna answer that. Inner Beauty says she just as guilty. Both are for okay. Well, you've been a member for 10 months, girl, so you can say what you want to say. I don't know. I ain't gonna say you can say what you want to say. That's Inner Beauty 2024. I ain't say that. I don't know what you doing, Asia. You said Miss Rhonda said I can't get on the wife's page. I don't know. I've listened to the first 5 minutes, but it's always because I just wanted to see who she was. And because I wanted to see who she was, I was just like, will you be back for Nesto? Absolutely. Boneytail celibate. I absolutely will. Stay tuned. He's next up. Child, Asia done broke out the communion wine. All right, y'all. We out of here. I thank you guys so much for supporting. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Bishop Lamor, he has a lot of names, has been locked up pending his sentencing, which has been moved from July 1st to June 17th. Therefore, he is trying to get out of wherever his detainment is and get on with whatever is going to happen after that. So that's it. That's all we got. We are reporting live from New York. We hope you guys enjoyed this here broadcast, and make sure you tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell your kids. about the law intellect. I'm gonna holler at you guys. Thank you guys again for all the cash apps, super chats, the memberships, all of that. I appreciate. You don't have to do it, but I'm glad that you do, and I appreciate it. One time for the road.
You's a clown. That's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? Huh? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh? Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you said on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
Cardboard bishop. That's what you were looking like on today. I'm gonna holler at you guys later. Gotta go.